Hello indie game fans! Final Fantasy Tactics on both the PS1 and GBA are classic tactical RPGs which so many people love due to the variety of characters, classes, races and more, really popularizing the story-driven tactical RPG. But for whatever reason, Square Enix has not made a follow-up, with the last North American release being way back in 2007. Thankfully, indie game developers are picking up the slack, so the top 10 best indie games like Final Fantasy Tactics starts with Hellenica, a pretty unheard one of these set in a steam-powered version of ancient Greece. Of course, the addition of the Age of Steam to the time and place in history is not commonly seen and is pretty interesting thematically, but you play as Diona, a woman cursed or blessed by Artemis herself to be able to transform into a bear. Of course, this enables you to push and shove enemies off cliffs and high places, which adds a degree of dynamism to the combat. There are branching narratives as well, but some might find this a little bit shallow, with excellent character sprites. Something a little bit on the simpler side of things is Heartacon Tactics, a combat-focused tactics RPG without much of an overall story or plot, but decent enough combat. Travel through the continent in the campaign as you progress from battle to battle, hiring an army of characters across 8 different unit types, while purchasing and upgrading their weapons and equipment. There is an online multiplayer mode as well as a level editor, but I'm not sure how active those communities are. This one seems to have gotten a little bit under the radar, but Children of the Zodiacs is a story-driven tactics RPG that is pretty neat, but its use of deck building and dice mechanic makes it not as similar to FFT, hence its position on the list. This is a well-polished title where you play as a group of thieves stealing from the rich as city guards, rival gangs and psychotic subterranean cannibals come after you. The deck building and dice aspects are the most unconventional but interesting parts, and I love to see different systems integrated into one another, where you even have the ability to influence Lady Luck herself. Despite being published by Square Enix, this is from an indie team which unfortunately has not gotten much traction since the 2017 release, so perhaps give this a shot. Tactics 5 Obsidian Brigade self-describes as a retro-style tactics turn-based game, paying homage to console tactics RPGs from the 90s, and man, does it nail that description to a T. There are 14 unlockable classes, quite a unique visual look, 50 plus handcrafted levels and approximately 25 hours of gameplay, so a very neat tactics RPG that is well worth exploring. I've recently brought up Ash of Gods Redemption since the console ports were out in 2020, but this is an epic tactical RPG with a story of struggle against 9 invincible monsters known as Reapers, who want to drown the world in blood. Taking a cue from games like GTA 5, this story is told from 3 different perspectives: the captain of the guard, a scribe with an ancient secret, and a bodyguard for hire. The most interesting part of this game is that the narrative and story doesn't care if your main characters die, but rather simply continues and adapts the narrative to it, meaning that this potentially has one of the broadest narrative branching systems in any game. Wonderful art style as well, with pretty challenging combat and the now expected RPG elements for your characters like leveling up, equipment, unlockable abilities, and more. One of the highlights of my year in 2018, when I was still relatively new at covering indie games, this brings back good memories and is a must play. I'm not quite sure where I first heard of Voidspire Tactics, but I'm willing to bet that it was mentioned in one of the comments on my videos, so thank you all for always highlighting interesting indie games to me. A criminally overlooked game, don't be fooled by the very retro, almost RPG Maker looking visuals, since this comes very close to scratching that FFT itch. There are 4 playable characters, 18 classes, 100 plus active abilities and 50 plus passive ones, where there is depth to the tactics, since you could do things like flood the entire battlefield and shock everyone with lightning. Upgrades and unlocks are doled out at a good clip, and it even has an open world structure with non-linear exploration. Very underrated, so please give this a shot. After the death of your father, you inherit a wondrous kingdom far, far away, but arrive to find it drowning in debt. So it is up to you to restore your family to its former glory. That is the plot of Regalia of Men and Monarchs, a tactical RPG with kingdom management elements. I love the bright and colourful hand-drawn art style, interesting characters, and great enemy designs. The addition of kingdom management elements is pretty neat, since it adds another layer of strategy required, but the main draw has to be the 20 plus unique characters to meet. This is from developer Pixelated Milk, whose most recent project is Warsaw, so they certainly have a knack for designing tactics games. This one is still in early access, but is already shaping up to be excellent, so enter the world of Wildermyth, a myth-making tactical RPG with a fantastic papercraft art style. This of course has roots in traditional tabletop D&D, since there are very free-form campaigns and stories to go through, but the main hook is building up and coming to love your party of characters. As with the stories of legends passed down from generation to generation, the concept of time does factor into the whole myth thing, since characters do age, can have children, and do eventually die, but hopefully are able to join the pantheon of legends to be called on in another adventure. Early access is progressing along very smoothly, with a possible 1.0 release in 2020, but a pretty safe bet at the moment if you love games like this.
Alette. Listen, there's nothing you could have possibly...
Dad, stop. Last night, I had a dream.
One of the standout tactical RPGs in recent memory is the Banner Saga, an epic Viking saga spread out across 3 games, with a now iconic art style, excellent animations, challenging combat, and heartbreaking choices that you have to make.
We never had to run. We never had to kill. Why are we alive when even the gods are dead?
Fight against the monstrous Dredge, whose sole purpose is to kill all humans and giants, while the giant World Serpent looms over all of this. Fantastic title all around and another must-play series.
Because we choose to be.
Many of these games covered cite FFT as inspiration, but arguably the one that does it the best is Fel Seal Arbiter's Mark. It is a story about protecting the world, uncovering the corruption within your organization, and to keep the peace within the lands. But this story-driven RPG really has the same kind of range and variety. There are over 30 classes and 300 abilities, with equipment, upgrades, and even cosmetic customization of your troops. Of course, pretty nice pixel art as well, taking the #1 spot. Oh, and as a special treat, definitely keep an eye on the upcoming Arcadian Atlas and Fey Tactics as well, 2 titles which I'm personally very excited about and should be pretty good successors to the FFT name. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, share and subscribe, check out the recommended playlist or the best pick for you, and I will see you after the jump.